This video is for entertainment purposes only. Do your own research.
People who can't communicate think every disagreement is an argument. You think every disagreement is a personal attack, and instead of listening, you start defending.
This is Biggs, and Biggs is about to become famous for a really weird reason. Now, Biggs lives in England, and he's kind of a turd. He's been to prison a few times for like break-ins and stealing cars and stuff like that.
Welcome back to another episode of Quik Reaction TV. Smash the like, subscribe, and tap the bell so you won't miss an upload. Man, I got a wild selection today. Let's jump in. Quick!
School lunch from around the world. United States. Ukraine. South Korea. United Kingdom. Italy. Greece. Brazil. Spain. Finland.
Put some hot sauce on my burrito, baby. You know you look good to me.
I could go for all of the ones with greens on them, but you can't forget the United States school box pizza. That was one of my favorites. Let me know what your favorite school lunch was down in the comments below.
Check this video out, y'all. Have y'all seen this yet? Look at that. Did y'all see it? Let's look at it again, y'all. Y'all see it? Not the plane. What's that? Look at this over here, y'all. This was in LAX. Y'all see that? Do you guys see how big and how low it is to the ground? This thing is literally here, y'all. Like, is it behind the firmament? That's crazy. Like, the media isn't saying anything about this. Now, within the past couple of years, I've noticed that the planes have been flying lower and lower. Could this be the reason why the planes have been flying lower and lower? Because NASA tells us that the sun is 93 million miles away, but it doesn't feel like it. And as of late, people have been realizing that the sun and the moon are both local, especially with the moon being as bright as it is now, and then two moons. But look at that, y'all. Look, it's literally in our environment. Y'all see that in our atmosphere. So you're telling me this thing is here and the media isn't saying anything about this, y'all? That's crazy. That is huge. But yeah, y'all noticed that too? Y'all noticed that the planes have been flying lower and lower? Let me know down in the comments below, y'all. This is strictly for entertainment purposes only. Let's continue to get this shift. Peace out.
Okay.
Now, as far as the plane being that low, it's either taking off or landing. And it's being that it's going that slow, it looked like it's landing. Wherever they at, they are really close near airport. Now, as far as the object above it, I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think in the comments below what that is.
People who can't communicate think every disagreement is an argument. You think every disagreement is a personal attack, and instead of listening, you start defending. You fight to be right instead of trying to understand. You think communication is about winning, but real communication isn't a competition. Every time you turn a disagreement into a battle, you lose more than you win. You're not building connections, you're burning them. You're not always right. Stop turning conversations into conflicts. Stop fighting battles that don't need to be fought. Learn to listen, not just defend, or you'll keep losing people one argument at a time.
Hey, smash the like button if you're feeling the content. Subscribe to take another dive down the rabbit hole. Don't forget, comment your comments. Special shout out to all my channel newest subscribers. Thank you, thank you. Welcome to the crew. Now let's get back to it. Quick!
is Biggs, and Biggs is about to become famous for a really weird reason. Now, Biggs lives in England, and he's kind of a turd. He's been to prison a few times for like break-ins and stealing cars and stuff like that. But one day, he's out of prison, and he's living a clean life, and Biggs wants to buy a house for his wife and his 3 sons. Problem is, Biggs ain't got no money. He's broke. So he calls up an old friend of his, a guy who he met back in prison. This guy, Bruce. And he asks Bruce if he could maybe loan him some money. And Bruce is like, nah, bro, but I'm actually in the middle of organizing a train heist. And he offers to cut him in. And Biggs is like, alright. And so the plan is they're gonna rob a Royal Mail train, which is a train that picks up and delivers mail. Now, one of the cars on that train carries high-value cargo, which is just lots and lots of bags of cash. Now, Bruce has a guy on the inside feeding him information about the train schedule and cargo, so he knows exactly when and where to stop this Royal Mail train carrying all this cash. And along with Bruce and Biggs, there are 13 other guys involved in this heist, so 15 total. But we're just going to focus on Bruce and Biggs. So Bruce and Biggs and 13 other guys, they put on ski masks and gloves, and they are ready to go. And they don't have pew-pews because this is England. Instead, they just have some metal bars to beat people with. And so then the big day comes, and it's 3 a.m. And all the men go out to the train tracks and they hide. And when they hear the train approaching, a couple of them go to one of those track signals, it's kind of like a stoplight for trains, and they turn off a green track signal and they use batteries to turn on a red signal. And once the train approaches and it sees the red light, it starts to slow way down. And that's when, bam, all 15 men jump out from their hiding spot and they swarm the train and they get on board, and then pow, one of them hits the conductor with the bar, nearly knocking him out. And then some of the other men board the car with all the cash in it, and they force the train workers to lie down on the ground. And then eventually, when the train comes to a full stop, the 15 men, they start loading the bags of money into 2 Land Rovers they have parked nearby. Now, these guys steal 125 bags of cash, 2.6 million pounds, which today in US dollars would be worth about $35 million. So then they drive the Land Rovers over to this farmhouse in the country that some of them own so that they can hide out there and divide up the money. And over the next few days, they all take their cut of the money and they split and go their separate ways. Now, they have hired some people to come burn down the farmhouse after they leave to hide any evidence. But the people who they hired who were supposed to burn it down, they don't follow through with the plan for whatever reason. And then police end up finding the farmhouse and they get a bunch of the guy's fingerprints, and eventually, bam, Biggs gets arrested. Here's his mugshot. And also Bruce and 12 of the other guys get arrested too. So Biggs gets sentenced to 30 years in prison for this. But his story's not over. Because while he's in prison, he decides, this place isn't for me. And so he makes a rope ladder, and one day he uses it to climb over the prison wall, and he escapes. So now he's on the run, and he flees from England all the way to Paris. And in Paris, he gets some plastic surgery, and he assumes a new identity. Then he moves his wife and family from Paris all the way to Australia. And from there, he and his family stay on the run. And they move like 3 different times, and Biggs changes his identity every time. But unfortunately, it's not enough. Because one night, Biggs sees on the local evening news that law enforcement believes he's living and hiding out in the area. And so then Biggs just like straight up ditches his wife and sons. And he gets on a passenger liner and he takes it from Melbourne all the way to Panama. And then from there, he flies to Brazil. And there, for about a year, he lives under the radar, working as a carpenter. Here's the thing about Brazil, though. At this time, Brazil has no extradition treaty with the United Kingdom, so Biggs can't get in trouble for his England crimes while he's living there. Lucky bastard. And at this point, he's been on the run for about 5 years. But he's having a great time in Brazil. He's partying every night, drinking at the clubs, and one night he meets an adult dancer at the club. And we'll just call her second wife, because she eventually becomes his second wife. And these two get married, and he gets her pregnant. Now, around this time, Scotland Yard shows up to Brazil looking for Biggs. And they actually find him and bam, they detain him. Here's his mugshot again. And so Scotland Yard tries to work with Brazilian police to deport Biggs back to England, but Brazilian police are like, nah, bro. A, because they don't have an extradition treaty with the United Kingdom, and B, because second wife is pregnant. And there's this whole other Brazilian law that says that you can't be extradited if you are a parent to a Brazilian child. So Biggs is free to go. However, his status as a known criminal means he's not allowed to work. So he's broke all over again. And everyone now knows he's an ex-con because his story has been all over the news. So then what does he do? He becomes a sort of local celebrity. And he starts charging local newspapers to do stories and interviews with him, and he becomes like sort of a tourist attraction. Like he's the convict who successfully robbed a train and escaped from prison. And so naturally people want to meet him and have him like sign autographs, and apparently he's selling mugs and t-shirts. So he starts making money this way. He even stars in a commercial for a Brazilian coffee company. Now, I couldn't find a copy of the commercial, but here's what he actually said in it. When you are on the run all the time, like me, you really appreciate a good cup of coffee. I'm not kidding. Those are his exact words. In fact, the dude is getting so famous that any celebrity that visits Rio de Janeiro during this time always has to stop and meet Biggs. Apparently, Rod Stewart stops by to meet him, and Sting stops by to meet him. The freaking Sex Pistols stop by and write a song with him, and they perform it and release it, and it becomes kind of a hit. But then shit gets crazy again, because one day he goes to a restaurant to meet a reporter for another interview. And while he's there, kapow! A couple of goons jump him, and they put him in a sack, and they put him on a boat, and they take him to Barbados. The kidnappers are, of course, hoping to get a reward from British police for capturing Biggs. But unfortunately for them, when their boat arrives in Barbados, Barbados is also like, sorry bro, we also don't have an extradition treaty with the United Kingdom. And so they send Biggs back to Brazil, where he once again is a free man. And so Biggs, he lives his life as an escaped criminal for about 2 more decades before ultimately his health starts to deteriorate. So then finally he gives up and he surrenders and he flies back to England to get the good health care he needs. And as soon as his plane lands in England, bam, he's sent back to prison to finish his sentence. But at least he gets good health care. And then, about 8 years later, they let him out, and a few years after that, he passes away. Dude lived a crazy life.
Damn!
That's a crazy, crazy, crazy story. That man lived a wild life. But let me know how y'all feel about all the things he did before he, kicked the bucket down in the comments below.
I've been seeing so many clickbaity things about the Young Thug thing. Young Thug is not going to jail. He's guilty, but he's not going to jail. Let me explain. It's simpler than it seems. Young Thug had a problem. The prosecutors going against him were losing, but they were going against him for so long, it would be embarrassing to walk out with nothing. This was the longest trial in Georgia's history. And bro, right here, Young Thug's attorney was embarrassing them. The prosecutors just got petty and just kept doing things to stall for time to keep Young Thug in jail. It got to a point where Young Thug's attorney's just losing it, saying, what is going on? Like literally yelling in court, arguing with the judge. No, listen, this trial was so bad, there was literal screaming matches in the courtroom. He said, we can't let this trial go on. But the judge was clearly on the side of the prosecutors. It was obvious, but nobody could just come out and say it. He finally gets caught. And if you want to hear more details about how he got caught and all that, I have a YouTube video about it. But anyway, he gets kicked out of the trial. A new judge comes in and she saves the day by just being a judge. Now, listen closely. Judges are supposed to be impartial, no sides taken. Usually prosecutors think the judge is on their side. You know, we're trying to follow the law and all that. So the prosecutors go, the judge goes, prosecutor goes, the judge goes, y'all have any evidence? They said no, but on my life, we ain't gonna let him go. But boy, as soon as the prosecutor looked at her, they knew she was not playing. So they said, okay, we wanted life, but can you at least put him in jail for 20 years? She said, they said, okay, let's have a conversation. So they all have a conversation. Young Thug, his lawyer, the judge, the prosecutors. And they basically made a deal so everybody could win. Young Thug, you're basically free to go. But the prosecutors, we don't look stupid. So you, Young Thug, have to say you're guilty and we were right. As well as Young Thug gets 15 years of probation, meaning if he does anything wrong, he's going to serve that 15 years or more in jail. But basically his probation isn't a big deal. He can literally still go wherever he wants. He could travel the world because the judge said that is the nature of his job. But the judge also said that his songs can't be talking too crazy about violence and all that. Young Thug says, of course, he is done with all that. He apologizes to his mom. He apologizes to the sheriffs that had to stay overtime. And he thanks the judge from the bottom of his heart for being fair. And then he goes home.
This trial was doomed from the start. Thug's lawyer is the real MVP. The defense ran circles around the state, and the state's witnesses turned on them. And then Thug just look around and take a plea. No, they made sure that plea worked for him so he can still work when he get out. So at the end, I think Thug was like,
It ain't me. Ain't me.
there it is, Quik Crew. Thanks for chilling to the end. Please like, comment, subscribe so we can chill again. And remember, keep God first, respect your parents, and love your kids. I'll see you in the next vid. Quik!